G'day and welcome to Kenty Blitz, your daily hit of NRL news. Kenty, we're at the business end of the season and starting to talk about things on field rather than off the field for once.
Yeah, it was a great weekend of footy.
Unbelievable weekend of footy.
And it was a really interesting weekend given the finals aren't far away. Everybody's starting to get into that mode where they're just going to try and refine what they're doing and concentrate on the details. And a couple of really surprising results. It was some terrific games, terrific endings to a couple of games. But overall, was I think it's sort of we're no wiser, to be honest, heading into the finals. But
Definitely.
we'll wait and see.
Let's go through a few of those games. Storm defeated Parramatta 16-10. Were you surprised how close that was?
No, I wasn't. I've been singing Jason Riles' praises for some time now. And look, I said last week I was confident Parramatta were going to make it much tighter than they normally have. I think the fact that it was a night game also played. Melbourne are much more dangerous during the day,
and it was pouring too.
And that just brought the two teams together. But Parramatta, there's just positive signs there, so they're going well. Melbourne, look, they're still in their fine tuning stage as far as the finals go. They're still not the finished product. Melbourne. My only concern about Melbourne, there have been times in the past where we've sat there and we're waiting for Melbourne to come good, and they just don't quite get there.
Yeah. And
it's just been then put away. They're always strong. They'll finish top four, but come that finals period, the mistakes that they've tried to fix during the year didn't get fixed. Now, they do have a great record of fixing them going on to win the premiership. So I'd like to see a little bit more consistency from Melbourne heading into the finals before they get to the finals.
It's interesting because throughout parts of the season this year, Melbourne have looked like the real deal. That first game they smashed the Roosters. Oh, no, then they played Para during the daytime. What was it, the first game?
Parramatta was their first game,
Right, and then they smashed them.
Gave them a hiding. It was... But that was irrelevant. I think they were just sharp that day. But they're just not the side that you can really write off. But there's improvement to be made. They need to make it too. And I think they need to show something a couple of weeks before they get into the finals to just have that confidence about themselves.
Well, the difficulty is they've got the Broncos, Panthers, Bulldogs, Roosters, Broncos.
Yeah.
So tough road ahead, particularly without Jerome Hughes.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. But that's what Melbourne are famous for.
They really need that home final, though. They really need to become in that top two because they are almost unbeatable at home in those final series.
It's going to be tough. Look, the way it's looking at the moment, they'll play Canterbury in that final. The interesting thing is whether Penrith can sort of sit at 4 given their tough road home. But you probably don't want to be playing Penrith either first week of the finals if they get there. So it's going to be a tough one for them.
Let's talk about the Dolphins. Dolphins, fantastic game. Friday, Dolphins 20 defeated the Warriors 18 over in Auckland. Yeah, with a Jermaine Osako try, pretty much on the bell.
Yeah, on the bell. What was really impressive about that was the decision late in the game for them to go for the try, not the goal.
Yeah,
they could have taken the goal, copped the draw, and then go into extra time. Let's see how we go. And they rolled the dice. And that's a team with confidence. It's a team that knows its ability to score tries. They are a tremendous attacking team, as we know. So for them to do that, I thought the Warriors, look, they certainly dropped the ball and they really clocked off. The concern for Andrew Webster was that last tackle. They lost all composure in their line. The guys are coming out now, and the Dolphins should never have scored that try. Should never have scored it. But and if the Warriors had held their composure defensively, I think they would have stopped them. But I love what the Dolphins are about. They are a team that they just go out to kill you.
Yeah, so the Dolphins now have the fate in their own hands. They're 2 points ahead of the Roosters and 2 points ahead of Manly, and they're in 8th position. So they're playing the Roosters this weekend.
Yeah.
But it's up to them now.
Well, it is. It's another 4-point game this weekend, isn't it? So the 2 they get, the 2 the opposition can't get. Look, Dolphins just got to keep doing what they're doing. They know
Farnsworth out now, 4 to 6 weeks. They're saying that's a big loss for the Dolphins.
Loss. Yeah,
massive loss.
Well, look, as I said, Warren, they're such a attacking centric team. They've got such great attack, and Farnsworth was a big part of that. So that's got to knock them back a little bit, but. Again, you'd rather be where they're at than where the Manly and the Roosters are. They're in the 8s, theirs to lose.
Yep. Warriors have an okay draw. You'd think they've played the Dogs, Dragons, Titans, Para, Manly.
Yeah.
So the Warriors have an okay draw, but whether or not they can stay in that top 4, that's going to be difficult for them.
Oh, well, I don't think they will, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they've been battling. They're trying to get past the loss of Metcalf. but it hasn't worked. I think we overestimate the loss of Mitch Barnett too. So they've had two significant losses. Their rosters, their run-on roster is just not what it was. And I think they're doing everything they can to stay top four. But I think at some point they'll drop a game and Penrith will go past.
Lost a couple at home too, which is unusual for them.
Well, they weren't when they were full strength or closer to full strength. That's the issue. So they're doing the best they can with what they've got. That's the situation they're in. The coach will acknowledge that. The players are acknowledging that. Tanner Boyd, look, he's come on and he's done some good things, but there's been a couple little things here and there, I think, that have been a concern. But it's up to them to fix.
The Broncos notched 60 against South.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed.
You weren't impressed by who?
By Broncos. No. It's funny, I know they won 60 points to 14. And everybody said, oh, wow, the Broncos are back. All the commentary after that was how good the Broncos looked. They basically beat an A-grade side. The fact how decimated South have been with injury is put out by the fact that before the game they couldn't even field an 18th man.
Saw that.
Okay, they basically, the 17 players that played for South on the weekend are the 17 players available. That's it. They didn't have an 18th player to come in and just fill the squad.
Seems madness, doesn't it?
Well, it is. And the thing about the South is it's the quality of players that are out. It's all their guns. Jai Arrow's the only bloke really running on the field now with any sort of representative experience.
I think he's the 5th captain they've had this year.
Yeah, but that might be right. I don't know about that. But Blake Solly spoke over the weekend the fact that basically they've got 36% of their salary cap available. 36%.
Yeah,
well, that means they've got that roughly puts about $8 million on the sideline of their salary cap. It's extraordinary. And the thing about the Broncos, yes, they got away with it. And you look at the scoreboard, you think, yes. But South were giving it to them for that first half. Now, when you're an A-grade side or even a poorly performed side and you're going up against a team that goes okay, the general pattern for the way that works is you go out and you put all your effort into it and teams will generally stay with them for a while, but eventually the dam breaks. Now, if the Broncos were so impressive, they should have gone after South right from the start and really murdered them in that first half. They didn't really do that. They didn't kick clear. And they trailed at one point. South scored first, but Broncos scored first, but South came back. But the fact is, they just didn't come out and they didn't play with, I think, a lot of discipline. But most of all, they let South score 14 points, and they were really poor defensive efforts that South scored off. And I think the Broncos, if you're Maguire, the 60 points you scored hides the poorness of their defence. I don't think they defended really well, and that's the issue for me. Not so much their attack. 60 points is okay, but in that game, they really had to just shut South out and really dominate defensively. And I don't think they really did. I think they just had so much more firepower in attack. South couldn't go with them. But defensively, they weren't impressive at all for the Broncos. And for a Michael Maguire team, that's what he'll be looking at this week. And I think, the Emperor's wearing no clothes a little bit with South, with the Broncos. They're a little bit of a false god at the moment. They're not what people think they are. Their defence was awful on the weekend.
They play Melbourne this week, so that'll be a cracker.
Well, you'd think so, but if Melbourne are anywhere near what Melbourne can be, Melbourne will give them a touch-up.
Even without Jerome Hughes?
Even without Jerome Hughes. They've just got too many players, Melbourne. But defensively, it's an A-grade versus B-grade between Melbourne and the Broncos. And that's not something that people highlight on, but that's something that's got to be significant, I think, in this game this week.
So the Rabbitohs play the Titans this weekend in what is the Spoon Bowl?
Yeah, it's a Spoon Bowl, and Titans are heavy favourites and should be. The one thing about the Titans, even with the Des Hasler drama coming out, the players are still trying for him. They're still playing reasonably well. There's deficiencies in their roster which can't be sort of overlooked, but their efforts there. They're trying still hard in their games. And I think... I
want to come back to the Titans in 1 minute.
Yeah, but let me say this in respect to Wayne Bennett. Wayne Bennett knows footy well enough to know that there is simply nothing South can do. He knows, he looks at his players and what he can put on the field. And basically he just hopes that they don't get beat up too much. He's not trying to win a game. He'd love to win the game, but he knows it's almost impossible for his team. They are so bankrupt of playing talent right now that to even think that they could win the games, it's ridiculous. They are that is how badly Souths are going. And even against the Titans, who are running at the bottom of the table with them, Titans are heavy favourites and should be because of the damage to South.
Tell me, Kenty, is there any repercussions for the South Sydney trainers, etc.? And I know, injuries happen and you can never foretell when an injury happens. But to lose, 65% of your cap.
The thing about it, though, Warren, what's really interesting about that, they're all different types of injuries. A fair few have happened at training. Some have happened in games. Like they're just there's no consistency between what the injuries are. Okay, so there's no a lot of people are privately blaming the ground that they train on.
The new fields at Heffron.
But the new fields. But why? Like what's happened there? Like how does that an Achilles injury into an ACL injury into a shoulder injury? Like there's no consistency through all that. I don't think you can blame anything other than bad luck. I just think, and the other fact is, it's the elite players in the squad that have all gone down just about. So injuries don't care who you are. So to say that something's happening at South Sydney, there have been incidents in past where clubs have a trainer who's given them too much running. For example, had the load too high, players break down. Maybe they can look at the load they're doing, but sometimes if you're not doing enough load, that means you're not physically capable either. So it can go both ways. It's a very fine line that they tread there. But yeah, I don't know. Look, certainly there will be an
investigation.
Well, I wouldn't say an investigation, but there'll be questions asked, and I'll have a few meetings about it at the end of the year, and there'll be a discussion over, okay, what do we think went wrong? How do we think we can handle it? But I just don't know. I don't think there's any consistent theme that you can push through those injuries to explain why they're getting them.
Well, they play the Titans this weekend, like we were just saying. The Titans were down 24-0 on the weekend.
Yeah.
And came back against Penrith.
Yeah.
And really just got pipped at the end with a phenomenal Cleary field goal.
Yeah. It's one of the great finishes. It shows you the genius of Nathan Cleary. When I watched the game, we were sitting there and go, okay, 2-point field goal. And I thought, this is going to be interesting to see how he handles this, Cleary, because he's the best in the game at it. But it was still a lot on the line. It was a 2-point field goal necessary to get the draw to send it into overtime. And then when they ran that set, they actually went too far. And I thought they've blown it because they've taken them into 1-point field goal territory. But Cleary, showing his command of the game, he just sat back behind the 40-metre line with enough space that he could take a couple steps forward. He knew how many steps he needed to take the field goal. So he stood back. He got a dog of a pass, had to catch it down at knee level, but just magnificent what he did. Just cool, composed, the way he went about it, and just showed what we regard as the game's best player at the best of his game. It was magnificent what he did.
I want to talk to you about an incident earlier with the water boy, how he's been referred to.
Yep.
What did you think of that? He's been fined, it's just released, he's been fined $50,000 and a 5-match ban.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought it was disgraceful.
It was gamesmanship. It was deliberate. I don't look. Nathan Ivan after the game came out and said it was an accident, but he didn't see it. Well, look, okay. Tell me why it was an accident. Something was an accident that you didn't see. Okay. So, but second to that, Penrith are too particular with what they do. Their attention to detail is second to none in the NRL. There's no way in the world I'll buy that trainer didn't know what he was doing.
Well, it's the 5th time in the last 4 years, I think, or 5 years, that one of their trainers has been pulled up.
Yeah, and I think good on the NRL for doing it. Well done.
Yeah, that was disgraceful.
And 5 look, I'd even go as far as say, you know what, if guys do something like this, which should be absolutely basic in what their job description is, you'd almost say, mate, you just basically disqualified yourself from doing it.
Yeah.
They can always find someone else. It's not like it's a job that it's highly specialised. You can always find someone else. But the fact that someone wants to try it on at 26-20, what was it? No, it was 26-24. That was the score. He was trying to make it 28-24, which would have taken Nathan's field goal out of the equation.
Yeah,
that's the important part of it. And he ran right across his path as he was back to take the kick.
Yeah,
it was a
disgrace.
It was a shit go. It was it really was. It was, But anyway, they $50 grand.
Club will play that.
Well, club will pay it, but it's just I just think you just got to keep going up.
Yeah,
next
really
one's $100 grand. So
really
eventually, someone in the one of the bean counters will say, you know what, mate, this is getting too high. You got to pull up on it. But it was a deliberate strategy, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. The other one I want to talk about is a high tackle in goals on Philip Sami by Brian Tyler.
Yeah, it should have been a penalty try. Penalty try. Mate, I don't know what those wood ducks in the bunker are doing, but they should have picked that up.
Casey Badger, I think.
Casey Badger. And to me, it showed a lack of courage in the bunker.
Yeah.
It showed someone not willing to make a game-deciding call, okay? Look, you go back, the famous one of all, the 99 grand final, Bill Harrigan, without the aid of a bunker official, made the call. Okay, Craig Smith got knocked out.
In a grand final.
In a grand final, knocked out when he caught the ball, knocked out. This was almost slightly different circumstances, but almost a carbon copy. He's basically, all he had to do, the only way he was not going to score that try if he hadn't been hit across the jaw by Brian Tyler is if gravity suddenly ceased to exist, and instead of falling, because he was already halfway down, okay,
he was over the line.
He was over the line. All he had to do was continue to fall.
Yeah.
That's all he had to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so Casey Badger's probably not going to be working this weekend too. Okay, so it just look. This is the issue though too was. Des Hasler's got his job on the line here.
Yep.
Right? This is a guy that's already come out that if he can't make the 8, look, they're pretty much mathematically out of it. But if they had, if they'd won that game and they'd gone on a bit of a run, maybe they could have, by some miracle, get close. But the fact is, his job's on the line, and some blind as a bat official in the bunker can't get it right, lose a game. I just think it's just, I just don't understand how they can make these. They can't make these mistakes. Honestly, it's not acceptable. We understand a referee under the pressure of the game with everything that's going on can occasionally get something wrong. The bunker is there with half a dozen people around her and can't get it right. I just, honestly.
We've been bashing.
And then we'll get an apology this week. Yeah, Bunker got it wrong.
We've been bashing him all year, but that was a disgraceful decision.
Well,
absolutely
it has
disgraceful.
Impacts beyond just that one moment.
Cost him the game.
Cost him the game. Might cost the coach his career.
Yep. Mate, crazy weather down in Wollongong on the weekend. Did you see they had to close the hill?
Yeah, I did, but I don't know why. What, they've got to get blown in the ocean? Like, why'd you close the hill for? What's
loose furniture maybe?
Who knows? But anyway, look, I thought it was a terrific effort from the Dragons. They've sort of been working towards this for a while. They've been hard to beat. They're competitive. They get stuck into it, but they finally got the result. So it was really good effort from the Dragons. They've been working towards it and they deserved it.
Kyle Flanagan obviously under a lot of pressure there, but he probably had his best game for the Dragons in a long time. His kicking was the difference in the end. Yeah,
I think look, Kyle's not going as bad as people say. He's had a couple of favours this year, but I think he's in, like, almost sort of an emblem for the team. They're just triers, the Dragons. There's not a lot of class in the side, to be honest, but they are triers, and they go out, they make themselves hard to beat. Typical Shane Flanagan team, hard to beat. They're keeping themselves in the contest, and the Raiders were ready to be beaten. They traditionally don't travel to Wollongong, and for whatever reason, they don't play well there. And it was interesting to see how composed Ricky Stewart was on the sideline when they were getting beat. Normally, he's a little bit agitated. You can see how angry he gets about certain things, but he sort of handled it okay. And I think
he was a bit resigned to it. Maybe, I don't know. It seems there were so many forces going on with that weather.
The thing about it too, wet weather football is a different kind of football. But the other thing though too is the Raiders have been probably disguised their wins a little bit this year, a few of them, where they've had a real poor half of football. But then such as their attacking prowess, they've been able to go out and blast away in the second half or play a good half of football, which has been enough to get the win. And I think Ricky will take that loss and say, okay, guys, this is the consequences of when we get to finals time. We can't have a bad half.
Yep.
And we've been getting away with having bad halves.
Yep.
And so I think he'll use that. And look, wet weather football is a different kind of football. And that really brought the Raiders back to the field because their strength is their speed and power in the outside backs.
Yep.
And with the wind howling like it was, which affects your passing, with the field is slippery, the ball's greasy, all that sort of business, it brought them back to the field a bit. But they weren't ready for the dogfight either.
No.
Whereas the Dragons were. So the Dragons are up for it, and that's another lesson I think that the Raiders will go away with. That you might have to get into a bit of a dogfight here, guys, and it's not going to be a pretty win or a comfortable win. You're going to have to find a way around it and do it. So, and they'll need to do that heading into the finals.
Shocking weather up in Manly as well. When Manly lost, they lost to the Roosters.
Yeah, they were disappointing.
One-sided affair, wasn't it, in the end?
The thing about that was Manly had a lot to play for and didn't really get involved.
Yep.
The Roosters, I thought going into the game, the Roosters would always be better prepared mentally for the game. But I thought the fact that it was at Brookvale, that they're both playing for so much, Manly would have got home, but they were really
4-point game in the end.
Yeah.
If Manly win that, the Roosters are pretty much gone.
They're dead. Yeah. Particularly with two teams in front of them. They might have had one falls over, but not with. They would have had Manly and the Dolphins in front of them. But the Roosters are there this week. They've got the Roosters. I was really impressed with the way they applied themselves. They came out and they were ready for the game, and you can see they still want to play finals football, and they still think they're a hope of playing finals football, which is a warning for the Dolphins this week, obviously, because they're not going to come out half-assed, so to speak. But I thought Manly did. Manly were really disappointing, given what they had to play for.
They now play the Raiders, Tigers, Dolphins, Dragons, Warriors.
Manly are gone, mate. It's all over for Manly.
Gone?
Yeah, I don't think what we saw on the weekend. I don't think Manly can make the 8. Firstly, they've got to get that 2 points back from the Dolphins that they surrendered on the weekend. They've got to somehow chase off the Roosters. And they've got a tough draw coming up. Like, I just don't think Manly have got that in them to get past that. I think that they're really, they're not there, mate.
Yesterday was a fantastic game. The first game, the Tigers beat Canterbury.
It was a ripper game, yeah.
Great game.
Yeah, Canterbury still
tough
struggled.
Conditions there again. It was quagmire, wasn't it?
Yeah, Canterbury's still struggling with wet weather football.
Yeah,
they haven't played well all season in wet weather football.
Yep.
I really like the aggression the Tigers came out with. They came out and their speed line was good in the defence, which has not been a great strength of theirs. But you could see that they were really wound up. Terrell May spoke after the game on radio, and he was talking about how Lachlan Galvin hadn't been brought up. It was about going out and making a bit of a statement. Now, clearly, I like the fact that Galvin was not mentioned during the week by them, but I think it sat in the back of everyone's head. And I think it had that impact of just being able to say, you know what, guys, we need to sort of take it to these guys this week. And they showed how strong you can be when you go out and you front load your defensive efforts and you're aggressive in defence, and you say, you know what, let's just go out for 15 minutes, just whack them, and then see where we go. And they were going okay. Their tries, I don't think they played terrific wet weather football, the Tigers. Their tries were sort of
opportunistic in some ways.
Yeah, they were in many ways. But they put themselves in the position to get that reward with their defence and with their aggressive attitude in the game. I thought they really turned up the Tigers. I'd like to see that more of that, to be honest.
Talk to me about Adam Dewey, because he was moved into the 7 position from 13 and dominated yesterday.
Yeah, he's just a footballer, Dewey. His footy instincts are very good. It's interesting that he's off contract. He actually said after the game, I hope Richo was watching. Yeah, so
maybe he'll get halfback money now.
Well, I don't know about that, but the Dragons are having a big look at him. He's certainly playing like guys do when they're coming off contract.
Yeah, right.
But that said, look, I think I don't know him well, Dewey, but what I do, he's a really genuine bloke, and I think he deserves it. And he's a pure footballer and he's a competitor. And he came out and he just did what the Tigers needed. And his footy instincts were so on song on the weekend. Yeah, that run out of dummy half that set up the that all ended in the try. His instincts were good.
Terrific kicker of the footy.
Yeah, look, he's got the fact that he can be picked at lock. And then just before the game, Benji Marshall pulls a shifty and says, mate, you're not going to start at lock, you're going to start at halfback. Not many blokes could go from playing lock to halfback in the game these days, but such is his all-round ability, he's got that in him, and he's a tremendous asset to any club. And I actually think the Tigers should be trying to hang on to him, to be fair. Like he's a footballer that they need. I know that they're a little bit, they've got a bit of a groundswell of players there in that position or in those areas, but I do think he's a guy worth keeping.
Well, it's interesting because when Galvin got dropped back to New South Wales Cup, I'm not sure if you remember, but Dewey got picked as halfback in that game and they lost that game.
Yeah.
And then Galvin came back the next game. So they might have given up on the experiment, but they went back to it yesterday and it paid dividends.
Yeah.
I thought a good shout out to Api Coruscant too, who was in fantastic form yesterday.
Yeah, they were all good, the Tigers. They were up for the game. They just, like I said, they turned up. And the Tigers are always hard to beat when they're like that. We just don't see it often enough from them. They do have that ability every now and then to just relax into themselves a little bit. But they were terrific.
Great stadium, that too. Combank Stadium, where everybody's on top of the ground. The atmosphere sounded phenomenal. You know, everybody was on the players. And just something on that. What do you think of this whole West Tigers? Making symbols to the crowd, to the Canterbury crowd, the cod.
Mate, look, I don't know. Look, mate, I had no idea, to be honest. I didn't know.
So just so people know, it's when the West Tigers scored a couple of tries, they were giving this hand gesture to the Arab Canterbury fans, which is supposed to mean something like "take that" or "fuck you," basically. And what do you think?
Look, I don't know. Look, part of me thinks, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, it's a hand gesture. Look, but that said, it was obviously done to infuriate the fans, and it did infuriate the fans. So why are you now sort of complaining that you've been picked up on it? So from that point of view, but that said, would I be offended that someone did that to me? No, it wouldn't worry me. You know what I mean? Like, I've had worse said about me, Warren, than someone sticking a finger up at me.
No doubt about that, Kenty. No doubt about that. Last game yesterday was North Queensland. Very disappointed.
It's just a dog of a game. It was horrible.
Yeah.
You know what? Cowboys didn't care. Okay. They went out. All they've really got now look, they can't win the wooden spoon. Well, unlikely to get the wooden spoon. Can't make the finals. They're just in this purgatory of just sitting there, middle to bottom table, can't really go anywhere, do anything, and they played like it. They were awful. And the only thing they got left in this season is their pride, and I reckon at halftime they recognised that. Because that first half was it was awful to watch. Honestly, I sat there watching and thinking, mate, how could you try and sell this game to anyone? You know what I mean? It was like sometimes you see an hour earlier we're watching Bulldogs and Tigers. It was a terrific game. Even though the score got away from the Bulldogs, it was still a good game. There was still plenty of emotional investment in the game. Cowboys just had no emotional investment in their performance. The only bloke really had a crack at. There's two guys had a crack that appeared to have a crack for the Cowboys, which is Dearden and Drinkwater. The rest of them just seemed to be going through the motions. Johnny Bateman tried. Yeah, he's always trying, but even he was trying things, they just weren't coming off for him, poor bugger. But they just dialed it in. Cronulla got away. Cronulla just managed the game from that point, and that was it. Sooner we forget that game, the better for our mentality. So,
Kenty, the other sad news, obviously, is the passing of Sam Backo.
Yeah, terrible news.
You know him well? Got any good stories for us?
Look, I didn't know him well, but a guy contacted me only a week or so ago. Said he's in a hospital with Sam. And he said, mate, he wants to talk to Blocker. So I got hold of Blocker and I said, mate, can you give him, when you got time, give him a call? And I gave him my mate's number who was in there with Sam at the time. Blocker rang straight away. And anyway, they had a nice little chat. Sam's just one of those lovely blokes, okay? He played a tough, hard position. He's a tough, hard man. But he had the heart of a lamb. You know what I mean? He just was so gentle until he crossed the white line, and he had to sort of square up with a few people and sort a few others out. But I remember Sam's got this sort of cult status where he came in. He was an unlikely pick for Queensland. Probably I wouldn't say lucky to get picked, but probably not. He wasn't the first guy picked. He came in through opportunity. But when he got there, he made the most of it. Typical Queenslander, got his jersey and just outperformed. I think his first 2 Origin matches, he was man of the match. And as we all famously know, after one of them, he dropped the magic bomb.
Yeah, in the interview.
In the interview after the game, dropped the F word, and he went like that. He was like a little boy that just been chased into school. And so he became a bit of a cult figure after that, Sam. And there was a story when he still played at Canberra. And he obviously didn't like doing a lot of interviews after that and he's whatnot. So then he's getting interviewed after the game. He's wary of swearing because he lets it slip every now and then. So he didn't want to do the interview. They talked him into it. He opened up a bottle shop in Queanbeyan. He said to a few people, he didn't want to do. His business partner said, "Mate, go on and have a talk about it and mention the bottle shop and get a bit of advertising for it." So anyway, the guy talks to the sideline. I can't remember who that was. And anyway, he says, he tells him about that. So they do the interview after the game. He says, "Anyway, Sam," he said, "you've got a great game today. You've opened up a new bottle shop in Queanbeyan. How's that going?" He said, "Yeah, opened up my own bottle shop. So if you want to get your piss, come and get it from me."
Very good. Very good.